Welcome, everybody, to Ready to Amplify, the interview series where we talk intimately behind the scenes about the journey of stepping into a bigger spotlight, overcoming the fears that pop up as service-based entrepreneurs step into that leadership role, and additionally help make a bigger impact on the communities that they're serving and how to get more visible with them and navigating that journey. So today with me to my right, your left. Shoot, I gotta practice that.
To me, it looks like I'm on the right, you're on the left for me.
Yeah, you're on my left, but I'm pointing to my right. Anyhow, Melody Spencer is a digital marketing Facebook ads strategist. She has over 6 years experience in the marketing industry, helping hundreds of clients use their digital marketing tactics, scale, grow their business in unique ways. She is a writer, a speaker, and host of the podcast Biz Babes With Soul, and ultimately passionate about empowering entrepreneurs to be heart-centered and not numbers-centered, which I think is great. We can talk one day all about vanity metrics. And I think I disappeared from the screen, so I'm not sure what happened.
Oh
no. Let's see. I just see a black, so maybe I'm still broadcasting, but I will just do one check. Brittany's watching. She's like, you guys have matching headphones. Let's see if that's working. Yeah, we have some feedback. Let me just see real quick that we are. I think I'm still broadcasting live, so hopefully, well, it's just my screen showing a black face.
Oh no.
Black screen. Okay, that's never happened before. We were just talking about Bitly Live being a little glitchy, but we'll see. We'll just keep going with it and see what happens. So far, it's looking good. Okay, so Melody, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today. And I want to give you guys a little insight. We were talking a bit about what to chat about today. And one of the things is that Melody has just come through a really challenging time, having been at the center of Hurricane Florence just over a month ago, right? So your business is in Wilmington.
Yeah, it was almost 2 months ago.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, this is something where I think that as business owners, we work from home. Melody had to relocate, had to work from abroad and navigate this challenge, right? And I think that, I don't know if you want to shed some light on that. I know it's a funny thing to lead with, but it's a very scary kind of prospect of like, what happens when you can't, work because of a natural disaster, right? Like that's...
Yeah.
And here you are, like you're okay, like everything is.
Yeah. So it was pretty intense. I've lived in Wilmington for almost 6 years, and we have hurricanes all the time, but like they happen every season, but it's never been the big one. We've had scares, and so it's kind of just been like meh, hurricanes, whatever, for a long time. But this one, they immediately were like, oh, it's going to be a Category 4, which is super devastating. And my husband works for the city, so in his employment contract, it says that he has to stay and work the shelters. And if he does not, he gets fired.
Wow.
And as a business owner in the States, I depend on him for my insurance. So that would have been devastating to us as a family. We would have dealt with it. But so basically, I made the choice to evacuate with my parents who moved here recently, and my 2 dogs. And we went to my in-laws' house, which is about 5 hours away. And so we were in a house for 2 weeks with my parents, my in-laws, 3 dogs, and 2 cats. And, I hadn't been in a house with my parents since I was probably 19 for that long. And I love my in-laws. Like, I'm so close to them. But being in a house with that many family members for 2 weeks,
man,
and trying to get work done and trying to, like, navigate the stress of, is my house going to be there? Are my friends who stayed okay? Is my husband okay? Like, what? Like, literally before I left, I grabbed all the valuables I could, like our marriage license, our passports, our social security cards, like all the major things. Yeah. We put all of our electronics and things like up high. Like, it was just very surreal to be like, what am I going to come back to? And yeah, I wasn't able to come home for 2 weeks because the roads, the interstate actually turned into a river.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And
Right.
we literally could not get home. It was insane. But here's the thing. I am so grateful. I am so lucky because the only damage we had was our fence fell a little bit and we lost some shingles. But our neighbors literally a block away, their house is down to the studs. They had over 6 feet of water in their house. And that was kind of the norm here. Most people, not most, but a good chunk of people lost everything. So there are literally 3,000 people in our city that are displaced and do not have homes.
Wow. Oh my goodness, Melody. Yeah.
And so it was just like, I don't know. I felt both lucky and both guilty.
Wow. Yeah, I hear you. And you know, what is really, I don't know, I've been connected with Melody. I met Melody back in June, but I mean, you are just overcoming that tragedy and showing up like the boss that you are. And I think it's, you know, what is that thing? Like we learn these lessons along the way, but like, how are you holding your it together?
You can curse. Well, this is your show, not mine. But on my podcast, we curse.
Do you really? Okay, I'm just. Yeah. I'm still getting caught. I'm like usually have a 6-year-old around, so I have to be like,
that's true.
Scheiße. I say it in German, and he's picked that up now, so I'm like getting in trouble. So tell me, like what is that lesson that you're carrying through the gratitude, of course, but also like, how are you holding your stuff together? Like you're seeing this every day. This is around you. This is people you know, and you're still carrying on with the business and actually growing and doing conferences and speaking and like, you know, we all, that's, I think the thing, the silence that we don't hear the story behind is that we carry on, right? There's all this stuff happening in our personal lives, and yet we show up live. You and me, we are both, we both have an element of that introvert side of us. And I know most people wouldn't believe it, right? Like I know people have said to you, like, you're an introvert. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. So I'm going to just write that title, being an introvert and showing up, right? Like that's, anyway, showing up anyways. That's what we're really talking about. So what were the things I think that maybe you've learned in the last 2 months, just since recovering from that and returning back? I think you were away for 4 weeks away from your home. You know, so maybe 1 or 2 you can share. And then I think we got to talk about that side of us, like that introvert side that is still there, even though we're showing up. I
basically learned that much like a death or anything else, you kind of have to let yourself go through that process. And I felt a little guilty. Like I actually had one of my biggest clients fire me during the hurricane because they said, we know you're going through a bad time right now, but we need to make money. And I was like, so that was kind of a slap in the face a little bit. But I also was like, okay, what can I learn through this? How can I grow through this?
Amazing.
And I gave myself the space to just, okay, I can't work today. I just need to journal. I started a big fundraising effort because I felt like I had to do something. So I had a good friend of mine create like a beautiful little doodle that said Wilmington Strong, and we created t-shirts and we raised over $700 that we donated to the relief efforts because I felt like I had to do something. I had to serve my community in some way. So I just focused on helping people, letting myself navigate that, and also doing what I could without having to force myself to be like, okay, I have to make money. I have to show up on live. I have to blah, blah, blah. And then at some point after a few weeks, I was like, okay, I do have to kind of get back into a routine because that's what helps me feel normal.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I think too, like when you're already an introvert where like showing up is like you're going through the emotions, there's stuff happening behind the scenes. But girl, I think you were live almost every day. And, you know, like during that, I saw you so much, like your visibility was crazy during that time. And yet you mastered that too, right? So are there things you do before showing up live that help you get through, you know, what do you tell yourself? How do you
yeah.
pump yourself up for,
I'm not really scared anymore of going live. I think like a year and a half, 2 years ago when I first started, it was so scary. It was so vulnerable. And I went back a few months ago and watched my first live and then like my most recent live. And I swear it was like I was a different person.
Wow, I
Like
love that. So
my
practice makes
energy,
perfect.
yeah, my energy was different. I was so timid, like I was so scared. And I think, I mean, we'll talk about this in a few minutes. I think doing my podcast has really helped me feel confident in my voice. Because I'll be honest, excuse me, I used to hate hearing and seeing myself on camera. Hearing myself on audio, like I hated my voice. I hated it.
Wow.
I was made fun of a lot when I was a kid for my voice. And I think I internalized that, and I just thought, I don't have a voice. I don't need to speak. No one wants to listen to me.
Wow.
And I kind of muted myself, and I kind of just thought, you know what? No, I'm over that.
I hear it, girl. Like, that's crazy. Like, I was even gonna, like, I love your voice. Like, first of all, it's like the sexiest voice. I just, it's like, I don't know, it's just music to my ears.
Well, thank you. I literally had a teacher in 5th grade who, terrible. This is terrible. I think I talked about this in my podcast, who said, you sound like a sex phone operator. In 5th grade. 5th grade. This is just the voice I was born with. Like, yeah. And there's a whole nother layer to that. I was a preemie. I was born at 26 weeks. I was on, oxygen and in an incubator for like, I think 4 or 5 months of my life. Like that, it scarred my vocal cords. I have there's no way that I can do anything about this. Ever.
Right? Oh my God. Holy cow, Melly. Like, this is so powerful. And I know one of our viewers today, Brittany, was just saying, like, we mentioned too, like, she hated her voice, like, and that was preventing her from showing up. And she talked yesterday in yesterday's interview about hiring a voice coach and like, just even like, like just getting through these barriers. And, I believe like, and especially in growing up, like we have these experiences and for me, like I know being an international athlete, like I would go away and race and have some pretty big powerful wins and then come home and be like, I'm not going to tell anybody about this. Like I don't want to stand out, or I don't want to boast, or I don't want to look like I'm being like egotistical. And yet we have to do the exact opposite as entrepreneurs. And Brittany's saying here too, I was always told I was a valley girl, and that's where the high pitch came into her voice. Right. So like I get these are the things that are stopping us. Like I know even myself, like I'm not the international athlete anymore, like I don't look like an athlete anymore. And showing up live and knowing like my athlete community would be watching me and judging me, that was a huge thing for me to get over and just be like, you know what, this is who I am. I've had a baby. I've started my own business. Like, life happens, but it's just, it's very interesting that there's a similar story happening there. So let me ask you this question, because it's coming up a lot in the interviews. You have this amazing, amazing podcast, and you get behind the scenes of the journey and being like, just really vulnerable in these interviews about what women are going through, business owners and babes with soul, we call them. And tell me, how long did you have the idea to launch the podcast, and what was the time frame between when you had the idea and then actually launched? Because I think this is also a key theme. So let me hear the answer. I'm just curious. So you're like,
I think but okay. This is a funny story. So I have been on a ton of podcasts. I'm a podcast nerd. Like I've been listening to podcasts since 2003.
Oh my goodness. But that's a long time.
Yeah, like in college, I was just like, I love podcasts. Nobody else was listening to them. But I literally had the idea in the shower, where all the best ideas come. And I thought, well, it came from the idea as I was listening to a lot of other female-led podcasts, like the Amy Porterfields, the Marie Forleos, and they were all not talking about what was actually happening. in our lives, in our businesses. They were just talking about like, oh, I made $1 million. Oh, like here's a strategy to build your list, which is all great. Sometimes I want that. But sometimes I just wanted to hear somebody say, I am so depressed, I can't get out of bed. I can't pay my credit card bill. I'm drowning in debt, or, whatever. Those are all negatives. But I wanted women in business to feel like they weren't alone anymore. And so I got out of the shower and I was like, I think I need to do this, but let me make sure no one else is doing it. And I couldn't find anybody else doing it. So I started asking around if anybody would listen to this. And immediately in all these groups that I was in, people were like, oh my gosh, where can I listen to this?
Wow.
And the name just came to me. I don't even know where it came from. It just came to me. And I immediately was like, who wants to be a guest? And I had so many people say, me, I want to talk about this. And I have been able to pull out like nuggets of women talking about depression, anxiety, infertility, death, grief, like literally everything in life, because it all relates back to business, because you are your business.
Yep.
And we've talked about motherhood and just like all the different things that kind of go into your business and make you you. And I feel like now, I think I said this at the event that I met you at, I feel like my mission now is to empower and to be a catalyst for these women's stories.
Wow, that's powerful, Melody. And just like this amazing transformation that's happening, right? Like as you step into that, owning your voice. And so was it like kind of like you just went with it? Like how long from the idea to when it actually started happening, you started booking these interviews? Like was that like pretty short or pretty
I'm pretty much an action taker. So when I have an idea, if I don't do it, I feel like it just like dissipates. So I immediately was like, okay, well, let me order a microphone and let me figure out the easiest way to record and blah, blah, blah. And that was pretty easy. And I immediately started asking people if they wanted to be guests. And I think I recorded my first one within 2 weeks of deciding to do it. Wow. And I launched, I launched within a month. So it's now been 4.5 months, I think, since I launched my podcast.
Amazing.
And I'm just over 3,000 listeners.
Holy cow. We're just showing the link there to Biz Babes With Soul. And that's incredible. I'm excited. I'm going to be a guest on that, I think, next week. So I'm pretty pumped to share some behind the scenes as well. And, and Sarah says here too, like, love that you're creating an impact by helping others. Like that's, I think at the end of the day, the content that you're putting out there, you have to feel good about it. You have to be aligned with your strategy. And one of those things too, I think in kind of just like getting out there and making an impact is that it gives you, I think, purpose to get through the highs and lows that the journey of entrepreneurship gives us, right? Like just that purpose.
And I feel like the podcast really gives women a way to feel not so alone in business.
Yes.
Especially online. I'm sure you feel like this, but sometimes it feels like I'm alone in an island that nobody else understands. Because I think 95% of my friends are either don't work or they, work for a company. And so they don't understand the highs and lows of the inconsistent cash flow and the wanting to work all the time and taking action and creating content and like all the little bits and pieces that go into owning your own business. They don't understand. They appreciate what I'm doing, but they don't get it.
Right.
And that's why I love being on like things like this, because I feel like we understand each other, and I want all of us women to lock arms and just be like, girl, I got you.
I love this, Melody. Like this is huge. I will admit, like, very lonely in my pursuit and isolated, and I am constantly working to connect and not be feeling that way, right? Like I have my Facebook group community and I have my colleagues and masterminds and mentors, and it's just a way to feel less crazy. Like the mad scientist that I am definitely like that idea generator. And one thing interesting, I love the fact that we're doing Facebook Live, and I see this amazing question here. Our take on creating an impact versus income, especially in terms of marketing and message. And I think that I'm going to go first on this, and I'll give you time to think.
Yeah.
I know every once in a while we're just rolling with the live here. But one of the things I like to think about is when you're totally aligned with whatever you are marketing, then it's almost the money flows in a way. So if you have that energy, that conviction, that confidence, the clarity, all of those things, and at the end of the day, it's about that person who's experiencing you. Are you making an impact? Like marketing that makes an impact, actually, like this is what my whole book is about, Ready to Amplify, Tribe, Visibility, Impact. Really, like it is about creating content that actually converts your audience, your followers, into buyers. And what I mean by that is it provides social proof, it provides relatability, it provides know, like, and trust. And all of these things, like self-identifying as being lonely and isolated in the journey of being an entrepreneur, like that helps my clients know that they're not alone. And I'm sharing that now. This is marketing with an impact. So they come together and it helps you sell. So, I mean, that's my take on it, creating an impact versus income. So my impact will create income when I'm service first. So I lead service first, like show up and serve, show up and shine. I don't know.
We are clearly aligned, because that is almost exactly what I was going to say. I have really been inspired by my journey as a podcast host, by my journey as a business owner, and then by other like leaders. Like, I don't know if you've ever listened to Jada Selner's podcast, Lead with Love.
No.
She had a whole episode about showing up and serving your community, which was like, yes. And then also like Brene Brown talking about like the power of vulnerability, the power of serving and showing up. And that's exactly how I feel. The more I am excited and aligned with what I'm talking about, the more money I make, the more impact I make.
Holy crap. Like I'm getting the full body goosebumps. Like, I don't know if you guys can see my, like the hairs racing off my hair. Man, that is incredible. And, you know, I think those watching, like, let me know too, like, what is your take on creating income or impact versus income? I know that when we are showing up, that sometimes we go through like that loss of confidence, or I know my whole identity. I have a really bad habit. I'll share it with you because it happened when I was racing on the national cycling team, where I identified myself as a national team athlete. So that was like my whole identity. And when I quit the sport, I was like, who am I? Like, how do I introduce myself? And then as I became an entrepreneur, it was like, now my whole identity for a long time, up until about a year and a half ago, has been, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I'm a strategist. Like I run my own business. Like that's my whole identity. And so when we go through the ups and downs of business or failed launches or mistakes, like I find that I lose that confidence. I jump right back into imposter syndrome mode of being like, oh God, like I didn't hit my sales goals, and I didn't do this, and that client was unhappy, or, like I made that mistake. And then it's like this roller coaster, right? So the whole point being is that I don't know what I'm saying anymore, because that's like a huge like reveal.
No, that's a lot. No, I completely agree. Like, oh my gosh. Like I was just having a conversation with my husband the other night, because at the conference I went to last weekend, basically, this is getting a little bit off topic, but basically they were saying like, you need to ask your partner like what they want. Like we as women in business are just like, you're going to come along with me, right? Like you're going to like, and not every man wants to just be the tag along. So I was like, what do you want? And he was like, I'll help you. I'll support you. He's not ambitious like I am, but he was like, I feel like you really derive a lot of your worth by your
Ooh.
business. And he was like, that's not a bad thing, but he was like, that's your identity as your business. And I was like, what?
Right?
I had
Yeah.
not even thought about that, but it's true. That's why I have to stop myself from working all the time. I love working. I love showing up for my people. I love creating content. Yes, I have to literally say, okay, I'm going to go watch Netflix now. But a lot of people don't get that. But I had never thought about that. Like, I derive my worth from my business. But I had thought about it too when I was in university. I really, like, when I thought about what I wanted to do, it was like, I want to make an impact. I want to change people's lives. But then I got into the regular working world and I thought, well, okay, well, I guess I'll have to do it someplace else. And now I'm doing that for myself.
Amazing.
And I feel like I have to, like, I have this pressure on myself to be like, oh, I have to make an impact. I have to make an impact. Like,
yeah. Well, I think that's what helps me get past the introvertness of like, oh, I got to do a Facebook Live today. It's like, okay, I'm going to reach one person that needs to hear this message and I'm going to make an impact today. And it's going to, and it gives me those goosebump moments. Like when we have these teaching moments, I'm like, yes, this is what I live for. I geek out on the content creation.
Mm-hmm.
And, something very important is that when I became the entrepreneur, full time, I was like all in. I was on mat leave, got downsized from my digital media director position. 6 weeks later, I'm like, I'm going full time entrepreneur, 100%, 110%. I never asked my husband. I never asked him. I was like, I don't think I have a choice.
I'm doing it.
I'm just doing it. I have to give it a try. And it wasn't like I was asking for permission, but I realized in looking back, like I never said like, here's what I'm signing up for. I'm signing up for a roller coaster ride that never ends, that may be possible in like, I had a couple miscarriages along the way. I had, some health issues. Like I was working all the time. I wasn't present in those first few years. And it was like, do you want to sign up for that? Like if I had known, I didn't know to ask. And for me, it was like, I have a 9-month-old. I'm not going to commute 3 hours a day. So this is better. I'll make some money. We have some time to grow the business. And I just went for it. But I think in hindsight, it's like, you need the people around you to get on board. And, that's a reveal. Like, I don't even, that's just, this is what we're doing right now. Right.
Yeah.
But I think that's the piece where if you self-identify with like how your business is doing and that's your self-worth and you're in a relationship, like, and it's almost like you get addicted to your job because you want to show the numbers and show the proof that you're, this is working. But then there's this like side of like, what about your life? What about your friendships? Like this is the whole, the journey of being an entrepreneur isn't like, I refuse to show up in my pajamas. And I will in the evenings, but like, I'm here to build a business, but I also like clock out at 3:30 now.
Yeah. That's like, great.
So that's, I will still dabble in the evenings because I love it so much, but that's when my son's gone to bed or my husband's out, like I have some time to myself, I will geek out and learn and educate. Anyways, enough about me. But Sarah says
I just love you. I love you so much. I feel like we're so aligned. Like,
holy cow.
I just remember having that dinner with you in Toronto and you were just, I felt like I'd met like a new best friend. So.
Oh, Melody. Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much. We're almost done with our power half hour. I want to let people know that they can find Melody online. We've been posting a few different links here, but we have some social. She's sharing some behind the scenes of Instagram. And I don't know if you can catch what you were talking about yesterday on your stories, but you were just telling me, huge topic. Maybe we have to show up again, but about apologizing for who we are. And both of us were doing it maybe earlier before, like, should I put on more makeup? Should I change my, I even was like, should I wear a hat? Like, I don't know. I wasn't even saying that to you. I was thinking that in my head, but like, we have to stop apologizing. We have to stop acquainting. Is that even a word? Connecting our self-worth with our business success. And, it's a journey. We're not alone, but we feel alone at times. And that's why it's so important to connect and build your community and stand out as the leader you are. Like, this is the journey of becoming a leader, standing into a bigger spotlight and really owning it. So there's so much, we could talk for hours.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to have you on my podcast next week. It's gonna be awesome.
I'm getting all these ideas. Like we're gonna continue that conversation over at the podcast. I know the link is there somewhere. I'm gonna put it on the screen. I have it here in my dashboard. Where's that podcast?
So Leigh's episode for you guys like waiting with bated breath will probably go up in January because I already have November and December scheduled out. But
amazing.
It's gonna be awesome. It'll be a good way to start the year.
Woo, you got to hit subscribe now. And for those of you watching, the Ready to Amplify interview series is really designed to help you on this journey of stepping into a bigger spotlight, to make a bigger impact. It's, really celebrating my book, Ready to Amplify, which got released on November 1st. Tribe Visibility Impact. You can go to leifowler.com/book. We're going to pop that in the comments as well. I think there's a link somewhere. And, guys, just like share in the comments if you're watching on replay, do that hashtag replay so we can go back. Melody can answer questions, connect with us, share your stories, talk more about the impact you want to make. Let us know what kind of impact you're making today. And do you feel alone? Do you feel alone in this journey? Sometimes, right? And how do you ask for support? Because that's a whole other topic, but power asks over pity ask. I'm going to do the power ask,
we need to talk about that on the podcast. Yeah,
I'm gonna make notes right away. All right, everyone, thank you again, Melody, for showing up and sharing today and shining and serving and all the wonderful things. Just thank you so much, and I guess we're gonna sign out.
Bye guys.
Thanks so much.